Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's IMAGI-NATION TV. And today we're kicking it with our thinkers as we work on the idea of initiative, which is a theme we're looking at this week. And we're lucky to have Pimpama High School joining us today. So we've got Emily with us, who's our co-host. Emily, how are you?
I'm really good.
Tell us what do you want to get out of today's episode as we go through it?
Well, I guess the meaning of life.
All right, meaning of life. That sounds like a good challenge. All right, let's roll through and catch up with your principal for the 60-second challenge. So the principal of Pimpama State Secondary College, we have John Thornbury here with us today. John, how are you feeling about taking on the biggest questions of all time in a 60-second challenge?
A little bit anxious about it. I wish I'd had that second coffee this morning, but we'll see how we go.
Maybe it'll fare you well. Maybe you'll be perfectly calm. All right, let's start the timer and let's get ready to go. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Perfect happiness, spending time with my kids, ideally, I guess, on a holiday somewhere that involves a beach and sunshine.
Which living person do you most admire?
Living person? I think Elon Musk. He's a little bit out there, but I think he's got that initiative, that drive, that genius that I think he's going to make a huge impact on the world in years to come.
Which talent would you most like to have?
I'd love to be a little bit musical. To be honest, I have no talent at all for it, but I'd love to be either play an instrument or at least sing in tune.
What's your most treasured possession?
It's a little bit cliche, I guess, but my two children would be my most treasured possession.
And who are your heroes in real life?
My heroes in real life? I think... Yeah, that's a tough one.
And the time is up. We did it.
Oh.
We got a get out of jail free card in the last one. Hey, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this. And most importantly, thank you for working every day on educating kids and committing, turning up every single day to try and lift students up and unlock their imagination, unlock learning. And it's a pleasure working with you guys. And thanks for being the partner of this episode with us.
Thanks very much. It's been great being on. Cheers.
Good on you. Emily, how did the boss go? How did you score him? What do you reckon?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. What did you learn? Did you learn anything?
Were his most prized possession.
Yeah, it's good to know that. I think at the end of the day, connection to each other becomes more important than anything else that we can manufacture, I reckon. All right, we're going to head into our 180 seconds of wizardry. Emily, every day we have a wizard join us on the call. That's pretty cool, hey?
Yeah, pretty magical.
And that was a leading question from me. I just put the words in your mouth by saying this was pretty cool. That wasn't a very good question. Parul, thanks for joining us as a wizard.
Keen to be here. Happy to be here, Jack and Emily and everyone.
Your time has started. Off you go. You got 180 seconds. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm going to speak and possibly give you a glimpse of how you keep your calmness in the midst of chaos. In the best of times, life is chaotic, as we all know. And now more than ever, especially when COVID-19 is hitting us, like we really need something that centers us, brings us back to ourselves so that we can lead a fairly peaceful life. Now, I hope you all slept really well last night. Have you ever stopped and wondered why sleep is so important to all of us? Whether we're kings or whether we're poor people on the street, doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, sleep is dear to you. Have you ever taken a moment to stop and say, okay, I just go to bed for half of my life and I hallucinate half of the time. That's your dream state. And then I'm quiet for the rest of the time. And when I ask people to try meditating, I often hear from people that, no, I can't do it. I don't know how to meditate. And I will challenge that assumption saying it's wrong. You meditate on a daily basis when you go to bed. And my invitation to you now is to try like a minute of meditation with me. And we won't do it in the traditional manner. Okay, maybe we will do it in the traditional manner. So I want you all, wherever you are, to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that for a minute. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, just look at a fixed point somewhere in the distant space and just focus your attention. Now, I want you to take 3 deep breaths with me. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. And breathe in and out. You can already feel your body. You can already feel the hum and life of your body. So check into your body. See what your body is feeling right now. Is it feeling stiff anywhere? Is it relaxed? Is it ready for whatever you're doing? Just check into your body, check into your heart beating. And now find the earth underneath you, wherever. You could be standing, seated, lying down. Just find that connection with the earth. Connect to the earth. And now check in with your mind. See how your mind is going quickly. Is it chaotic? Is it calm? Is it peaceful? Is it wandering? Just accept whatever arises in this moment. And now slowly returning back to the world outside, start tuning into the sounds around you if you have any sounds. Or just look around you and notice at least 3 things in your vicinity. I see a brown chair, a red couch, and a multicolored rug. So that's just things to bring me back to where I am. And this is something that I recommend that all of you do in the midst of your busy lives. Take a minute every now and then to just check into yourself, check into your body, and check into the atmosphere around you. And that will keep you calm through chaos. That's my hot tip for you all.
Parul, thank you for joining us as a wizard. 180 seconds, you nailed it. Emily, have you got anything you'd like to know from Parul? Anything you'd like to ask him?
Where did you learn all this?
That's a great question, Emily. Like I grew up in India, so I spent a lot of my time in meditation from an early age. But there was a brief stint when I was 23 asking the bigger questions in life, leading with your question when you said, what's the meaning of life? That's what I wanted to know. And I spent 6 months in the monasteries in India, in the foothills of Himalayas, wandering and sitting with monks and asking the very question that you asked. So.
That's very interesting.
It was a hell of a journey, let me tell you that.
Parul, thank you for joining us as a wizard on today's show. We've got some great comments coming in from the chat line. Brendan Newton, meaning of life. Here we go, Emily. Penny saying, interesting thoughts, Parul. Thank you for encouraging us to take a minute to meditate and take a beat. We're now going to move into the next section of the show as we try and explore the meaning of life with Imagine the feature film. And last week we kickstarted a feature film where we opened up a Google Doc and we said to everybody out there, let's try and write this thing together. And then we released 500 filmmaker grants on our website in the form of a hoodie for people to be able to go out and be official creators once we land this script over the next 4 weeks. So we're going to come back after this short video with our special panel for today. And we're going to work through writing Imagine the feature film. See you on the other side.
Most of us love the story of the child who is sidelined by life because of the situation they were born into or the color of their skin, and then one day becomes a champion or a success or a hero. This is the kind of story we hope will inspire marginalized kids to dream big and make their dream come true. But what if we did it differently?
How are we gonna do that?
Flipping the script is about not letting the hand you've been dealt stop you from achieving your goals.
Imagine realizing that you can actually flip the script that's been given to you and start writing your own story.
We have to challenge the norm.
So what if we ask the kids we don't usually hear from, the ones who are sidelined by life, to be our storytellers?
The project Imagine gives us all the power to flip the script.
We invite all of you, all humans everywhere, to join us in a live experiment.
The time for talk been over. It's time for some action.
And there is genuinely no limit to what you can achieve.
There is no limit to any imaginative juices.
Use that kind of like just around the corner idea, so you can bring in technology and ideas or social constructs that don't exist and bring them into this world.
Let's write the next chapter of human history collectively.
Imagine the wealth of stories and ideas just waiting to come into the world. Imagine the new horizons, if we flip the script. Welcome to the Imagine Film Project.
Lots of love coming in from the chat line. Jason Bernal saying, thank you, Parul, for reminding us how valuable it is to take a minute to refocus. Steph Beck saying, meaning of life, big one to get your head around, Emily. And the best thing is it's different for everyone. For me, it's finding a gift and giving it purpose. And Rianne Miller saying, so keen to see Anthony Kidd own this. Anthony, thank you for joining us as part of the panel alongside Emma Watts and Dr. John Davis with us. Anthony, tell us what imagination means for you.
G'day, Jack. Thanks. So imagination is something that actors need always. Creativity. Nowadays we can see any young talent go out and film something, produce something, use a simple iMovie edit suite and go and start to create their own mini movies and have their own audiences online immediately. So I think it's very important that we all can imagine outside of the things that are directly in front of us. Even as an actor, when you're in a duologue or a monologue or something, you need to have that imagery, that imagination, whether you're pretending to be in a school classroom or having a fight with an actor who you don't even know, and you've got to create these backstories and relationships with people. So, in my world, it's very, very evident that without an imagination, creativity, and imagery, you're going to be pretty stuck in terms of creating and producing and becoming part of this industry and world that I live in.
Yeah, I wonder whether we're all actors, whether there's all a story that we're either think we've got to play our role as a part in, or there's a way for us to pick up a pen and maybe write our own story and, to actually physically say, I'm going to create an action, which will then create a reaction, is at the heart of initiative, which is part of the theme for this week, is sort of saying, okay, I'm not going to let the world just roll past me. If I feel like it should be done, then I'm going to try and take action and do that. Dr. John Davis, what's initiative mean in your world?
Thank you, Jack, and everyone. Initiative is all about giving it a go. So having a crack, as we say in our home community. So the notion of being able to tap into that space, that we've got that inner strength within, and we're able to then achieve. So keeping an eye on a prize, and then taking the steps forward, which will enact change. That's what initiative means to me.
Do you reckon we can train imagination?
Training imagination. It's just like any good teaching pedagogy in school space, but also our space as mob, tapping into indigenous knowledges. There's that notion of opening up your mind to a broader existence. And I think that's the potentiality. I know that's the potentiality our people have, is to be able to tap into a greater holistic learning sphere.
Emma, thank you for joining us on the show. What makes you obsessed about story?
I just love telling true stories on screen. I'm a producer-director. And I guess coming back to the theme of this week, which is initiative, I really love coming up with new ideas that we can show on screen. And I think that's all about imagination, which is great. But I think initiative is sort of like the accelerator. It's like you've got all of these ideas, and the initiative is saying, okay, I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to go with it and I'm going to make something. And I think that's really important, especially for younger people who might want to get into film and television. People always ask me, well, how do I do it? And it's all about initiative. Make things yourself. Make things that you can show people. Keep making. And it is about having ideas, and that's fabulous. But it's about having the initiative of going out there and actually making it.
And so when you work as a producer, right, like a producer who doesn't get anything made is someone who just talks a lot, right? So being able to actually get something created, what is that? Can you remember the first time that you got over that bridge to get someone to believe in the idea that you were representing or that you believed in, and to commit to bringing it to life? Can you take us into that moment, the first time that you you saw that production starting to take life, that something that was unreal was about to be real because of your initiative and because of your action?
I think the first sort of big time I did it, it's lucky I've got this guy in the background because it's about their story. I made a series for the ABC and NBCU about real life stories recreated with puppets. And up until that point in my career, I'd always created things for other people, which is great. And I loved it. They'd give me a project and I would do their idea. But I was working on one particular show that I won't name, and I was a little bit bored. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could make my own thing? But then I think, especially in Australia, I feel that there's a real push that, you know, you feel like you shouldn't do that. It's sort of like big noting yourself if you think you can do these things. And so I had this idea of recording a lot of my friends' stories about online dating. And I pitched it to a few different people and everyone said no. And I just had a feeling in my gut that it was a really good idea and it was going to be a great show. And so I kept pitching it. People kept saying no. And so then on the weekend, I just said, you know what, we're going to make it. So I got some friends together. We made some puppets, like this puppet behind me, Frank. We were in a dirty old warehouse in Brunswick and we started shooting. And we shot 6 episodes like that. And eventually people started taking notice of it and we got commissioned to make a full series for the ABC. So I guess, you know, my thought is don't be scared of taking initiative. I feel like often culturally here, we're told not to do it, but I think just go out there and make something.
Let's take on that challenge, and for the next 5 to 10 minutes, let's get your creative, imaginative juices flowing and do a live writer's room with an audience watching. JD, you ready for it?
Always ready, brother.
Always ready. Anthony, you ready to rumble?
Yes, mate. Always rumbling.
Okay, good news. Okay, well, so the scene that's been set so far by a mixture of artists, writers, creators, kids, different people jumping in. I saw over the weekend, we've got a bunch of storyboards and images stuff there coming up now, which you might be seeing on the show through the live stream. So the baseline story is we've got a 15-year-old kid. The 15-year-old kid lives in this messy world. So they've got a bedroom, which is really messy. And they go to sleep in the bedroom, and then a claw comes up, grabs them, then hooks them underneath the bed. And they move underneath that bed and they end up in this ocean in a boat by themselves. They've got an alien dog as a sidekick named Jeff, I think is the alien dog's name at the moment. And then they're looking out at these islands. And the kid has been a bully in their life up until that point. And on the islands are some of the people that the kid has potentially bullied. And we actually got more depth on the islands on Friday from Michelle Law, who went bonkers in the best possible way. So we've got 6 different islands, which all have different journeying capabilities for us to explore and move into. And part of what we've been looking at as part of the story is that the 15-year-old kid is trying to unlock what it means to be a bully and where that's come from, and that they've been bullied, and how to stop the intergenerational trauma and put a hold on it. And as they go through the islands, they're unlocking insights and different things along the way. So that's our base. Wayne Blair added to the second. So we've got Act 1, we're looking at the islands. We've got Scene 1. Act 2, we've got the young man. We go back in time and we see a young man who's eating burger rings, loves burger rings, just throwing them up in the air, eating a burger ring after burger ring after burger ring. And it turns out that young man is actually our protagonist's father. So that's our ability to go back in time and see the dad, who's also in a messy room. So today I thought we might have a bit of a play with Act 1, Scene 3. So we've got a base where we've got the island, we've got the kid, and then we've got to work out where are we going to wander to. So I'm happy to, I'll scribe away with any ideas, and we can either throw it into the ideas block up the top. But let's say it's the third scene we're looking at. We've met the dad eating some burger rings, and then a young girl says to the dad, says to this young kid in their room, "You don't know me yet," and that turns out to be his child down the track, whose name's Kim. So Kim's a 15-year-old. That's our world. Where do we go?
So given that it's the theme of the week, so Kim is the central character, the name of the central character, yeah? Maybe we should talk about, is Kim used to taking initiative? I believe he's a bully and has been bullied. Maybe that's something that we can explore.
do we want to be in a world where's a world where someone gets bullied? Do we want to create a scene of Kim in action maybe?
What about if he jumps into one of the islands and we just kick it off with the schoolyard, and when he lands, he's looking around and he actually sees himself and starts to watch himself bully these other people. So he feels like he's there and present, and he actually starts to reach out to himself to say, hey, that's not fair. You shouldn't do that. So he's actually watching upon himself be the bully and starts to realize, hey, this isn't cool. Why am I doing that? Or in fact, maybe he's seeing a kid bully and then taps him on the shoulder, turns him around, and it's actually himself. And he's like, wow, now he's confronted with himself being the bully, and he's been watching himself bully someone. And as he turns him around, that's the reveal when we actually realize, wow, I'm in my school ground. Now I remember this. This was back in grade 6. Oh, that's that guy, Tim. He was a bit of a dorky guy, had glasses and a funny tooth. And he starts to see one of those times in the school ground where he was in fact a bully, and perhaps some way he can start to speak and talk to himself. And I don't know whether he has to find a gem along the way, or a rainbow bird comes in, or the alien dog arrives and allows him to actually communicate with himself, and he starts to talk to himself, and I guess realizes that it's not cool. Is that something in there?
I think there's heaps in there, and I reckon you could have, because the alien dogs arrive. So the alien dog and Kim have both arrived in the boat together. They've been hooked in by the claw.
Okay.
And so I think the alien dog maybe is on that island. They go to the first island. A portal gets us into the schoolyard, and then they're both looking at the schoolyard, and the alien dog says, "Look at that tool carrying on, who's just bullying other kids." And then Kim's like, "Yeah, absolutely," and then walks up and it freezes, and we pull him around and goes, "Oh,
it's me." And perhaps we give the claw that dragged him under. Do we give this claw an identity now, and perhaps call it the rainbow bird? So then we've got the rainbow bird, the dog alien, and the rainbow bird is sort of hanging out, watching as well, and can sort of start to narrate some things.
Yeah, well, let's go.
The character goes through.
If we're going to wander with the claw, I think we've got to jump to like Act 3, Scene 11. So let's jump down there. Act 3, Scene 11. Yet we don't have any words there yet. Great. The claw. Maybe the claw is on the final island and could reveal itself. What do you think, Emma? Where are we? JD, you've got any ideas?
It's amazing hearing the artistry at work. I was thinking about when do the burger rings come back into the picture?
Yeah, I love that.
Some way of putting the chips in the background. Over to you, Emma.
I love it. I love the surprise Anthony's come up with there and the self-realization. I wonder, after he's pulled this guy's face around and realized it's himself, I mean, do we give ourselves a beat or two so he doesn't come to the right conclusion just yet? Do we, I don't know, so we don't have him fully realizing that bullying is bad so early in our story, does he come to another conclusion from seeing himself there and wondering what else he could think of faced with himself?
Yeah, maybe he can't see the face. Maybe there's lots of different times throughout it where he's maybe casting judgment either way, and the face that turns around is never revealed. Keep seeing these different characters behaving in certain ways, and sometimes it might be him, sometimes it might be his dad, sometimes it could be the alien dog going on a journey, and maybe we're seeing shapes and they turn around, but you're never quite seeing the literal manifestation of yourself, because then you've got time to build that tension and work out. Because it's sometimes bullying, the bully is you can feel sorry for the bully, or you can be empathetic with the bully. It's not always just going to be clean, oh, that bully's bad, or that's good. And I think that tension, maybe that if there's not a face, it could give us some of the grey space around it.
And maybe we're learning more about his backstory, about why he bullies other people, and why he is this nasty guy, you know, what insecurity is lying there inside himself, you know?
Maybe it's his dad. Maybe it's his dad, the first person that wheels around.
Yeah,
back
I
in
was going to
school,
agree
he sees
there.
it's his dad. And then we've gone back in time and the Burger Rings are there. He sees, because there's a Burger Ring his dad's holding, he's like, that's dad.
Mm. Do we know why he bullies and what his story is there?
No, great question. We've got a few more minutes, so why don't we dig into that one and we'll why does he bully?
Well, I think you were onto the right thing. Well, both of you, Emma and Jack, I think you're onto it with you know, it's a progression from his father. So again, to use the Burger Rings, perhaps the little boy's gone to the shop and actually got them, and it's been quite a debacle to get them. As he goes to eat one, Dad snatches them off him and sort of pushes him out of the way, and then he starts eating them. So when he goes to school, he's bullied by Dad. So it's just a passing on. It's just an evolution. It's passing on. Well, Dad's mean and bullies me, so I go to school and do that. So I feel better about myself, because when I'm at home, the bullying is going on. So I think we could see somehow, and maybe the Burger Rings doesn't work, but
yeah, Burger Rings are great. If you have your Burger Rings and then maybe you go, this is so fun. You've got your Burger Ring kid that gets revealed on the first island. So we turn it around and the kid's just stolen Burger Rings off someone else. Now, the person he's stolen the Burger Rings off is his dad. He doesn't recognize the face that turns around, but then he looks over and his dad's there crying. He's never seen his dad cry. His dad's crying as a little kid who had his Burger Rings stolen from him. And then we might see later on that when the kid comes home, his dad's stealing Burger Rings off his son, and we start to see this loop of perfect Burger Ring circle. JD, thoughts?
Oh, that was that perfect Burger Ring circle. I like that, Jack. No, the whole story there, the backstory about where you learn those particular techniques. So I dig that whole. Unfortunately, the stuff that's shared by the father. So that'll be an important part to flesh out the notion of what kind of other interfaces happen, because it's also that part about it wouldn't just be the one; it'd be a couple of events that would happen that would build this sense of, you know, a lot of the realities for our bullies is a sense of worthlessness as well. That they don't feel very strong about themselves, don't have a strong identity, so they've got to be taking it out on other people. So definitely something in there about the sins of the father. I like that.
What else do you want to see in this story? Just complete imagining. No, it doesn't have to relate literally to anything, but if you could see something in a feature film, what would you want to see? 60 seconds of dreaming.
Talking about the notion of bullying, but just that notion of sideliner. It's so important for our young ones, for our communities, that it's not just, you know, there's that overt stuff we've been talking about here today, but it's also that part of people putting their chest up as a community going, that's not right. You know, if there's a notion of weaving that into those elements into our scripts and stuff as well, the fact that, you know, it is really everyone's business. Everyone's got a part to play and say it's not right, because it's just, you know, that overt bully. It's even just as worse if you stand by a bystander, yeah, and you don't have that, you don't take that lead, have that leadership, that initiative to say enough's enough.
Yeah, I think it's really important that the story is kind of multi-layered in terms of the bullying. I feel like, you know, if we make him the bully, but also he's bullied for some reason about his own family, and maybe this kind of intricacies of the schoolyard are displayed, because it's not always one way down. It's not always like that. So I think if we can think of other ways where he is also a victim of bullying himself, and whether that's to do with his family background or, you know, potentially coming from a disadvantaged background himself, I think that would be really interesting to explore that area.
I think if I can jump in, I think he probably, once we see that reveal, whoever it is, whether it's his father or himself, I think he would scurry pretty quickly from that island. So I'd love to see him sort of scurry, jumping on the boat, trying to get out of there. Everyone else jumps on, and we can very quickly move into another scenario, which I think Emma is touching on, where he could all of a sudden paddle into the next island, and then he's sort of at home, remembering back to when he was a kid. Maybe he's got an older brother who also bullies him. There might be some alcohol with dad or mum or someone in the home, where he's sort of falling into, again, being, not so much bully, but we could also touch on some domestic violence per se. So once we've hit that first island, the burger rings, he's working it all out, spins the guy around. Oh my God. And then he's out of there, into the boat, vomp, gets back to home. And then we move into our next sort of stanza, which is, perhaps the older brother, mum or dad drinks alcohol, they're abusive, and we can start to move it into there perhaps.
I love what Anthony just said then about that first island being, maybe in that first couple of beats of this film, he sees something so terrifying on that first island, and maybe he does get a glimmer that it's himself, and he's like, we got to get out of here. He's talking to, he's telling everyone, we've got to get out of here. And maybe that first island becomes something that we have to come back to throughout the film, that he doesn't want to go near. He's like, oh no, that's all done. We don't need to go back there. It's all fine. But maybe that's something that, he needs to build up confidence or courage to sort of acknowledge that, that first island, that seeing his own face was such a big deal for him.
And that concludes our fast-paced writers' room session. Love everything you've contributed. I've got one final offer, is that maybe his grandfather worked in the original Burger Rings factory and got fired, and it's an intergenerational about employment and worth, and then there becomes all these Burger Rings rolling through. So I hope Wayne Blair's very happy these Burger Rings become so central to this story. Awesome. Thank you so much for using your imagination and telling stories. And I think it's, the stories that we tell, from the stories that we position as the unreal, whether they're on TV or on screen, to the stories that Dr. John, that you guys tell every single day about high expectations and changing the paradigm and the framework of the way principals and teachers think about working with Indigenous kids. We become reality in those stories. So thank you all for, in your own way, being brilliant storytellers and helping shape a fairer world for us all. See you next time.
Thank you. Indeed.
Thank you so much.
All good. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
All right, back to Emily, our co-host. Emily, how was that?
I really like the story premises. It has something really good going on for it. I like the idea of the multiple islands and different memories, going back just to remember the past and rethink of it and get better.
Yeah, it's sort of cool to be able to bounce around, isn't it? You should jump on and add a couple of ideas. If you've got any sentences or little thoughts, then and put a comment there as well.
Maybe when he turns himself around, he sees himself for a glimpse, but then it turns into this monster, and that's why he wants to run, because he's seeing himself as a monster instead of just himself.
I love that idea. You have to, your only homework after co-hosting today is jumping on that Google Doc, writing that sentence so no one else gets to claim it as their own, and then you get an official credit on a feature film as a writer. Yeah, that's such a beautiful idea, that we never want to see the monster within ourselves, and then when we're really confronted with it, we run. And often, and maybe as Emma was saying, going back and facing that monster in ourselves is maybe going to be the lesson and the quest for our character on the journey. So, hey, thank you so much for joining us today and being a co-host. What did you learn?
I learned a lot of things. I think maybe the meaning of life is learning to love yourself and, bring everything that you like to you, and don't let anything hold you back, and love your loved ones and all that.
Yeah, you might have nailed it. Now you're just going to have to focus on entertainment for the next 70 years of your life, because you worked out what it's all about. Hey, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the rest of your school, and thanks for being such an awesome co-host today. We're now going to go over to Terry Brody, who I caught up with a few years ago, and on the theme of initiative, we were sitting together we're at the bottom of Manhattan Island. So about 3 or 4 blocks from the World Trade Centers. And Terry's first day on the job as a rookie firefighter was 9/11, and he caught up with us to talk about his journey and what initiative meant on that day. And he's now captain of the fire station, which is closest to the World Trade Center sites, and his role in helping rebuild it and use initiative and try and understand the world through this devastating event, which happened a while ago for humanity to be a part of. So we're going to catch up with Terry, and that will almost wrap up the show, and I'll come back very quickly afterwards.
Of course, the major concern is human loss. I mean, do you know if there were many people in the building?
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
Oh my.
Something else has just, and that looks like a 747.
My first day in the field was 9/11. It's a heck of a way to start, that's for sure. And I remember, you know, as I was down here, a lot of the firefighters that were already on the job that I met, they would just let me know that this isn't the job. But the truth is, they didn't have to say that, because unlike so many other people around the world, I was here and I was helping. I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was brand new, right out of the academy. I was a rookie. But I remember feeling, this is where I want to be.
Can you remember what the day was like when you turned up to work and the moment where suddenly you guys were called into action?
I was home. I was home in Brooklyn, but it was in Greenpoint. It's right on the water. So I walked out and I saw people on the corner looking over at Manhattan. And I said to myself, well, there must be a fire in Manhattan. So I looked and I saw one of the towers burning. I didn't realize a plane had hit it. I went and got my breakfast. I came back and the second tower was burning. And that's when I immediately called work and said, okay, what do I do? And they said, grab your gear, you know, you're out in the field. I reacted. I went right to ladder 119, which was in my neighborhood, and they put me on a bus with a boss and sent us over. And I'll never forget getting off the bus, because it was a beautiful sunny September day when I boarded that bus. When I got off, it was snowing. And obviously not literally, but you know, the cement dust and the particles, the paper was just in the air, and it's hard to explain, but that's what it was like. And you just knew right away you were in a war zone. You know, that's what it felt like.
What can we learn from that moment as human beings around the world?
Even in the face of that tragedy, the firefighters and the FDNY and the people of New York City, the people all over the world, wanted to help, wanted to do something. The last thing anybody wanted to do was back away and you know, move away from it. Everybody wanted to be there and to help. And I think that was a great lesson, to see, you know, how many people really the way they responded to it on that day.
And you've since then have now risen to being the captain, to go along that journey, to lead people into the fire. What have you learned about humanity?
You know, I've learned that, especially becoming an officer, is that the men and women really want to be led. They want a leader. They want somebody there to say, follow me, I got you. When I became an officer, I knew it and I realized it, you know, because when we would go to a fire and I'd have my men, I would turn around and I could see it in their eyes that they wanted leadership, you know. And I think any one of us can be a leader, you know, and it's like anything else, just, you know, you step up and do it. It's within all of us.
What has fire taught you?
When we go to a fire, it can be, we could walk into a room and there can be a slight odor. There doesn't necessarily have to be a smoke condition. Seconds later, you could be banked down, and it could be hot, and a ceiling could blow down on you if the fire is in the ceiling. So I think it has certainly taught me to never underestimate anything.
What's driving you?
I'm lucky in the sense that my job helps people. So I'm ambitious. In 16 years, I've risen to captain. Might go farther, but I just want to make the most of every day.
Have you got a final message for kids on the other side of the camera?
The fire department, for me, has been incredibly fulfilling. And, every day, like I mentioned, getting someone out of a stuck elevator or a car accident, it's not always fires, but it seems like every tour we do something to help people. And it really is a great feeling at the end of the day. And I would say my message would be, you can't really put a price tag on that feeling, on really truly enjoy going to work and being really happy and content about what you did, that day.
Terry, thank you for joining us on AIM TV, brother. Good on you. See you guys. Enjoy yourselves.
When I sat in that small room with Terry that day, I could feel the silence in the room and could feel how close we were to that site where 9/11 happened. And to watch this guy who had been through that want to live a life with positivity, want to continue to help people, and want to, he mentioned, just step up and do it. Coming out of disasters, coming out of travesties, coming out of crises, coming out of pandemics, that's when we have the opportunity to lead. If we want to see a fairer world, if we want to see a world change where kids aren't being left behind, if we want to see a world where we don't face environmental crises in 30, 40, 50 years of the magnitude of what we're looking at, if we don't want to see food shortages of the significance of what we're seeing across the continent of Africa and in many places around the world, and we want to see kindness with each other, then it's going to require every single one of you that's watching this show to say, what am I going to do to get up and just do it? That's why we're here with this program. We're here to bring a mentor into every kid's home every single day and create action, not to sit here passively and go, I'm going to leave it up to somebody else, because it's when a small group of committed citizens stand up and act, that's what changes the world, and that's what this show's all about. So thank you for being a part of Imagination TV. Thank you to the guests that joined us today, and we'll see you all tomorrow to catch up with the youngsters at 12 noon Australian Eastern Standard Time.